Charles Darwin didn't set out to change the world. He was, by his own admission, an unremarkable student, a young man who preferred collecting beetles to studying medicine, and who nearly missed the voyage that would define his life and reshape human thought forever. Born on the 12th of February, 1809, in Shrewsbury, England, Charles Robert Darwin came from a family of considerable standing. His father, Robert Darwin, was a wealthy physician. His grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, had already speculated, boldly for his time, that life itself might transform across generations. Charles was born into a household where ideas were currency. His early education gave little hint of what was to come. He enrolled at the University of Edinburgh to study medicine, but the sight of surgery performed without anaesthetic drove him away. He transferred to Christ's College, Cambridge, intending to become a clergyman. But it was there, under the mentorship of botanist John Stevens Henslow, that his true passion was ignited, the patient, obsessive study of the natural world. Then came the invitation that changed everything. In 1831, at just 22 years old, Darwin was recommended by Henslow for a position aboard HMS Beagle, a Royal Navy survey ship preparing to chart the coastlines of South America. His father initially objected. Darwin himself had doubts, but on the 27th of December 1831, the Beagle set sail from Plymouth. Darwin would not return to England for nearly 5 years. The voyage was transformative. Darwin suffered chronic seasickness, yet he threw himself into the work with relentless energy. In Brazil, he marveled at the richness of the rainforest. In Argentina, he unearthed fossils of giant extinct mammals, creatures that resembled living species but on a staggering scale. In Chile, he experienced a powerful earthquake and saw firsthand how the land itself could change. But it was the Galapagos Islands, visited in 1835, that planted the deepest seeds of his theory. On those remote volcanic islands, Darwin noticed something peculiar. Mockingbirds on different islands were subtly different from one another. Tortoises varied in shell shape depending on which island they came from. Finches, 13 distinct species, each had beaks shaped for a different food source. The same basic creature, adapted to fit different niches. The question that began to form in Darwin's mind was one that would haunt him for the next 20 years. Why? He returned to England in October 1836 and began the long, painstaking work of developing his answer. He read widely, corresponded with breeders and naturalists, and filled notebook after notebook. In 1838, he read Thomas Malthus's essay on population, the idea that more individuals are born than can possibly survive, and the mechanism clicked into place. If more organisms are produced than the environment can support, then those with traits best suited to their environment will survive and reproduce. Their offspring will inherit those traits. Over generations, populations change, species transform. He called it natural selection. Darwin knew what he had. He also knew how dangerous it was. In the Victorian world, the idea that species were not fixed, that humanity itself was the product of the same blind process that shaped every other creature, was incendiary. He confided to a friend that conceiving of the idea felt like confessing a murder. He waited, he gathered more evidence. He wrote, revised, and delayed for 20 years. Then, in 1858, a letter arrived from Alfred Russel Wallace, a younger naturalist working in the Malay archipelago, containing a paper that laid out, with striking similarity, the very theory Darwin had been quietly developing. Darwin was shaken. The two men agreed to present their ideas jointly to the Linnean Society of London. But it was Darwin who had spent 2 decades building the evidence. The following year, on the 24th of November, 1859, Darwin published On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. The first edition sold out on the day of publication. The reaction was explosive. Some scientists embraced it immediately, others attacked it fiercely. The church was alarmed. The public was fascinated and unsettled in equal measure. The famous 1860 Oxford debate, where Thomas Henry Huxley defended Darwin's ideas against Bishop Samuel Wilberforce, became the stuff of legend. Darwin himself stayed away from the public battles. He continued working. In 1871, he published The Descent of Man, addressing directly what Origin had left implicit. That human beings, too, were shaped by evolution. He wrote on emotions, on plants, on earthworms. He never stopped observing, never stopped questioning. He died on the 19th of April, 1882, at his beloved home, Down House in Kent. He was buried in Westminster Abbey, near Isaac Newton, a recognition by a society he had profoundly unsettled that his contribution to human knowledge was without equal. Darwin gave us something more than a theory. He gave us a new way of seeing, a framework that connected every living thing on Earth into a single branching story of descent and change. From the bacteria in the soil to the human mind itself, all of it shaped by the same patient, remorseless logic of survival and variation. He did not set out to change the world, but he did.